I knew you were trouble when you walked in. A summer now. Whoa! Trouble. All right, what's up? Welcome. Back for another stream. I've pushed this one back, I don't know how many times, several times. Because so many things have been happening and occurring. And, well, I'm here now. I'm here and we're here and we're. By the way, did you get a notification? Let me know. Let me know if you got one. I think I see one popped up on my phone. I've been following all this drama that's been going on today. Up late, woke up in the middle of the night, woke up super early. Haven't slept the best, but no notification? No. Well, some people said they got a notification. All right, we're going to listen to Ruby Franke. Ruby Franke, the Kevin Franke, the guy that kind of abandoned his kids in a way. At the end of August 2023, Ruby and Jodi were arrested. They pled guilty to 4 counts of felony child A. And we saw the body cams yesterday and I don't know, all this video footage of where the kids were being held captive in the basement and all this crazy ish yesterday. And we saw the first interview for Kevin Franke. No, Sam, I didn't know that. What's up? No, you didn't get notifications? Let me see. I don't know if I believe you. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, there's a notification. What are y'all talking about? All right, so let's do this.
Thank you for meeting with us.
Were you there the first?
I was there. I don't think I interviewed with you.
Okay.
Lieutenant
It's just audio, by the way.
No,
No,
the first time.
I don't
So
remember a lot.
Yeah, oh, you're okay.
I don't blame you. It's a lot all at once, and
Usually long time no see is a good thing when you're dealing with a detective.
Yeah, but I know that both of my kids have mentioned both of you by names, and particularly with you. And
He's a good kid.
Do you guys by chance have a card?
I do in the car,
Okay.
but not
Okay.
on me. So I'll grab that for you though.
Okay.
So, like I talked to Mr. Kester about, I just want this to be totally ran by you. I won't ask you any questions that are incriminating. We're not looking at you as a suspect or anything like that. We just are more curious of the dynamic and Jodi coming into your relationship, your lives. So, if you kind of just want to walk us through that on how she came into your lives and then where things started to change.
Jodi, you mean?
Or,
Jodi.
I thought
Jodi.
you said Julie, but
oh,
you meant
Jodi.
Jodi.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jodi. Yeah.
yeah, I can do that. I'll ask first. Have
Nice.
you found the pen papers?
The pen papers. So we found quite a bit
They're-
of different
We
journals.
believe they're on the computer, and the rest of them are sealed, like they're trying to mail them off. But we do not have a direct copy of it. No.
Because my understanding was we had purchased as a Christmas present for Jodi in 2021 a leather folder that 3 inches thick or whatever, and it had engraved on the leather on the outside the pen papers, and Ruby wrote detailed notes of everything, all interactions with Jodi and Pam Botcher from August 2021 until I don't know when.
And you're saying it's is it like a satchel looking leather bit, or is it more like a binder?
No, it's like I don't even know what to call it. But
it's flat.
It's well, yeah. So you
Just like a
see,
shorter, because we do have Ruby's journal, which is from those dates that you mentioned.
these
About this
things
big.
are going to be so. She wouldn't write the stuff she wrote in the pen paper. She would not write in her journal. The stuff she wrote in the pen papers was not intended to be read by anybody until God would decree them to be written as scripture for the whole world to read.
Okay.
That was the dog.
I believe that's what we
We have that.
have.
Okay.
Because you're saying the pen would be different, correct? It's like a,
Well, it was just in a thing called the pen papers. So it was, and that's how Ruby referred to those papers. So it described all of the visions and trances and everything that Jodi and Ruby went into.
How thick would you say it was?
It was like 3 inches thick or so. And there were hundreds of pages of written documents that Ruby had. And that was given to Jodi in 2022 when she left and returned to her home in January. So,
This is similar.
yeah, like it would look like that.
Okay.
that's not the journal that we have, so,
No, I think you're talking. It looks like a satchel. Or
It's something Jodi would not want found,
yeah.
but she wouldn't want to destroy it
Because
either.
we
The
didn't
empty
find that
one.
in the
We
home.
found an empty one.
We did find an empty one,
I
so.
remember saying anything
Oh.
on it though. There's an empty thing like that.
Yeah.
There was a full thing, but it was.
If the empty one says the pen papers on the outside of it, then they emptied it
I
and did
don't
something.
remember.
We'll go
that.
back through our photos and see if that's,
Yeah.
because everything in the
If-
home was photographed. so.
If you're interested in Pam Botcher,
Mhm.
that's going to tie Pam Botcher to all of this, what's in those documents.
Okay.
Okay, so,
Closed captions? Yeah, I forgot to turn it on.
Sure.
Oh, no. They got quiet for a second. So, yeah, we're just listening to the audio from yesterday. Well, I mean, we were supposed to watch it yesterday, but things got crazy with P. Diddy. And let's see where we're
is it okay to bring the puppies?
Yes, we want the puppies, right?
Okay,
Okay, so why don't you
Puppies.
finish here and then call me when you're done and we'll,
okay.
Hey, will you let the bailiff know we're in here so she can bring us a copy of the order?
okay, let me see if I can find her.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
In 2018, we were psyched.
I don't know why it keeps going silent, but it does. It's still going, though. That's weird.
Ruby had a very close friend named Paige Hanna, who lives in Mapleton, who was a massive fan of Connections and Jodi Hildebrandt. And in fact, the Hannas are on the cover of their book. If you've probably seen them. And so Ruby started to speak with Jodi towards the end of 2018, early 2019, with the intention of having her be the therapist
That's annoying as shit.
to Jodi. Jodi always had a larger interest in communicating with the parents more than with the actual patient, which I've always found curious. But her theory was, if you want to help your child, you have to help yourself first, and then you'll know how to help the child. So she spoke with Ruby frequently, and the frequency of their communications ramped up. And then the first conversation that Jodi had with Chad was in June of 2019 while we were on a trip to the East Coast. All of her visits with Chad were in virtual through Zoom. But she would talk with Ruby on the phone or through Zoom quite frequently. So Jodi met with it got strange around the fall of 2020. The Hannahs were trying to convince and bring Ruby into thank you.
Thanks.
Into this organization called Connections, and that particularly were focused on things like lust versus love, and healthy marriages, happier marriages, happier relationships. The stuff she wrote in the pen papers, I didn't need to go to it was like a conference or something held at Thanksgiving Point in Lehigh. And there were like 100 people there, and that was in the fall of 2019, maybe late summer of 2019, late summer 2019. And my impression at that time was this is absolute craziness. This is a bunch of man-hating women that are just looking for excuses to tear down their husbands. And
Wow, that's interesting. All right, this is the very beginning of it, but I'm kind of like, come on, when are we going to get to the point? But these are women looking for reasons to hate their men. Maybe feminists, who knows?
I mean, that's what it felt like to me when I was in there.
Damn.
But it was confusing because there were people that I respected a lot that were up on the stage with microphones in hand, giving testimonials of how great this was and how it changed their lives and their marriage, and like the Hannahs were among them, and so yeah, it was confusing. Ruby, then we went on a trip with the Hannahs to the UK in October of 2019, and I swear the whole objective of the trip was to convince me to get into Connections, because all of them were in it except me. And
Connections was the business thing that the super moms Ruby and Jodi started. Connections, the super moms that were abusing their kids and making YouTube podcast videos while their kids were locked in a basement or abusing them and had them tied up and stuff.
But they made some really eloquent arguments, and I agreed to join a men's group with Jodi in January of 2020, and I would do it for 3 months. So I started that men's group in 2020, and the group, I don't know if you've ever been to an addiction recovery group, but that's what it was. That's what it felt like. I mean, there were probably 10 men in there. It was on Zoom. All of them were working through, various stages of sex addiction, porn addiction, drug addiction, and it was just it was like a 12-step group, but intended just for general addiction recovery. And I really was like, what the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. But everyone was like, no, come here. You can learn to have a better life and a better marriage. And so I thought, okay, whatever. I went through my obligatory 3 months, and I was ready to leave. And then I got challenged to.
Oh, thank you.
And then I got challenged to sit down and have a vulnerable conversation with my wife and ask her how my lustful choices have affected her. And to me that was a loaded question. I thought, I still didn't see what I had done or anything that would constitute any form of abuse or anything like that. And But I did. I took the challenge and I sat down, and for 2 hours, Ruby very emotionally just shared how she felt in our marriage and how the things that I, over 20 years of marriage, you know, asking for sex as a husband frequently, or asking her to wear lingerie, or things like that, how that made her feel.
Really?
And it was really emotional, and it touched me. Like, I didn't realize that she felt so strongly about that she felt so hurt by that. And so I committed that I would really give it a go. And I stayed in the men's group. And so, you know, in that men's group, I met with Jodi every week.
So Jodi's running the men's group. All right. And she's talking to all the men and convincing them that they're doing all these evil, horrible things. Shamba in the chat says, Jodi's known for making husbands and older male children admit to their adult video addiction and to taking care of themselves addiction, then drive a wedge by telling them that men have to earn their family back. I mean, I'm a fan. Like I said, I think yesterday, I'm a fan of the no-fap when you're in a relationship, because I feel like you could save all that energy for the person you're with if you can help it. You know, I'm not saying it's bad to actually go do that stuff online. I think it is bad if you're completely addicted to that stuff, because you're not going to have anything for the person that you're with when they get home. You're not going to probably want to get into it, or you're not. I like the build up too. I think if you're doing that shit all day long, first of all, you got a lot of time on your hands, but two, it's draining your energy, and I think it just makes things more intense with the person you're with when you're not doing that all the time, sitting on a computer, taking care, watching all these different videos. So I'm not against that. I don't know how often this guy was doing it, but joining that group and him, like, I don't know, asking his woman, Ruby, I don't think nothing wrong with asking for lingerie once in a while or something like that. I don't know what's wrong with that. I don't know how often he was asking for it, but honestly, can you even blame him? If this chick is complaining and all this cult shit or whatever you're doing, I mean, you got to take care of it one way or the other. If she's not doing it, then what else are you going to do? Right?
With the other men that were in the group. And then it got weird because, like, our marriage felt like it was getting better and stronger. So this was now, you know, summer and fall of 2020, and in addition to that, there was the whole YouTube cancel thing. I don't know how much you guys are even interested or aware of that, but in May of 2020, some videos that Ruby released on that dealt with Chad just blew up in her face, and it was all over the news, and hundreds of thousands of TikTokers and all this stuff were just piling on and basically burned down, like, our YouTube channel. And overnight, like, the income went, you know, we lost 90% of the income overnight, and that was hard.
Was this like the which episode was this? Was this the one where they talked about, like, the bean bag? Or
Okay. Yeah, and then they started going back and trying to dig and find, and then they'd find these little nuggets like, oh, look, Eve went to school without a lunch one day, or, you know, stuff like that. And, but it was the beanbag video that really set people off.
So then they went back from there.
Mm-hmm. So at that time, Ruby was really distraught, and she was looking for support. She was looking for someone who would understand her, who would validate her, and she found that in Jodi. All the stuff she did with Chad was because of Jodi, and so
That's the end of part one.
Okay, guys.
Part two. Yeah, there's no video, by the way, guys. This interview, it's only audio.
it's that she would go to Jodi, you know, for emotional support when she felt like her world was burning down. In the meantime, like, I felt like our marriage was getting stronger. It felt better. Like we didn't fight as much, and Even though we were having less sex, it felt more connecting, and it was just, I thought, wow, this is great. Like, you know, this is great. And I was happy to be the guy up on the stage. You know, that started sometime in like late 2020 or the fall of 2020. There would be a conference, and Ruby would say, I thought we were just attending it, but then she'd say, hey, they wanted us to get up and tell our story, you know, and I'm like, oh, okay, sure. And so I get up and just say, like, yeah, I was the guy who said, I think this is a bunch of, like, you know, man-hating, you know, women, but it really has made a difference in my marriage, and it really did. Like, I believed it. And so those conferences and stuff, everything continued like that until March of 2021, when after a conference, a connections conference down in St. George, all the inner circle, all the people who were being trained as, you know, mental fitness coaches and stuff. So that was Ruby and a bunch of other people and their spouses. We went out to like a dinner afterwards, and that's where Jodi really opened up to the women in a private conversation that she believed she was being tormented and haunted by shadow figures every night. And that was spooky, you know. And I don't know exactly what happened, but the Hannahs do. All I know is at some point within a couple days of that, in that month of March, the Hannahs drove down from Mapleton and picked Jodi up and brought her back to their home in Mapleton, and she lived for 6 weeks in that home in Mapleton. And this is where, like, I don't know what happened, but I do know that there's two different sides of stories. They tried to introduce her to a new cult lady that the Hannahs were getting into, so they wanted to merge their cults into one, apparently. And,
Cult merging. Holy crap.
They referred to it as a cult at the time.
oh no. No one in a cult says, I'm in a cult.
Right. I was wondering. But from your perspective, it looks like two cult leaders merging together.
From where I stand now, absolutely. According to Jodi, she was held against her will for 6 weeks and was kidnapped, and she escaped and got out. According to the Hannahs, after 6 weeks of Jodi stabbing herself with forks and knives, cutting herself, and wanting to commit suicide and trying to seduce the husband of the family.
Snap your W-2 and file your tax.
Sorry.
I don't know what's the truth. Maybe a little bit of both. I don't know. But the point is, somewhere around mid-April, Jodi was back in her home in Ivins, and she was a hot mess. And she reached out to Ruby for help. And Ruby was always jealous of the Hannahs, that they had a better relationship with Jodi than she did. Ruby, and this is like, goes back to her childhood. She wanted to be the best friend. She wanted to be the most liked. She wanted to be the one that everybody knew. And so it hurt her that she felt like she was being excluded from what was going on at the Hannah's house. And then she'd say, why so many secrets? And the Hannahs would say, it's not secret, it's sacred. And when the time's right, you can know too, you know. So we went down to Jodi's house in May of 2021. That was the first time I'd ever been there. And it blew my mind, as I'm sure you have walked in there and gone, how does a therapist live like this? Like, didn't make sense to me. But we were there, and she opened up and talked about, you know, her struggles and what was going on. And I gotta say, like, I'm a smart guy. I'm an engineer. I've designed and helped build some really big stuff. I've been a college professor. I can't explain some of the stuff that happened while we were there. Like crashes in the basement while we were talking upstairs, and plates like in the kitchen just flying off by themselves, like full speed, smashing on the wall and falling to the floor like by themselves. I can't explain it, but I saw it with my own eyes, and I don't have any way to explain it other than there's some crazy shit going on. Ruby was convinced that we could intervene and help Jodi. I didn't want a thing to do with it. I tried to like get her bishop involved and say, hey, go to the priesthood and the church and all that stuff. Just go to your support network. But Ruby continued.
There's like a lot going on with Diddy. We're probably gonna have to do a Diddy update at some soon. Seeing all kinds of stuff happening now.
Continue to be like, no, we can help. Like, she doesn't want that. Could you imagine like what would happen to her reputation if this got out and stuff? Let's help her. So we went down like a couple more times between May and August, but it reached the point where in August, her bishop at the time, a guy named who's down there in Cayenta named Scott Galbraith. He's not our bishop anymore, but I mean, he was going over there like every night, and he'd be there for like 4 hours, and he'd be like, I'm fighting evil spirits, I'm casting demons out, I'm crazy stuff going on, and finally he got to the point where he's like, I can't do this anymore. Like, there needs to be some sort of resolution. It was at that point that they said, why don't you take her up to your house? And I was like, oh, hell no. I don't want this in my house. But I was beaten over the head with it. Like, that's really insensitive. You know, she's done so much to help our family. And,
yeah, so
and you're being selfish, and,
you're
and she has needs, and come on, like, it won't be for long. And so I relented, and I was like, okay, actually, you know, this could kind of be fun. Let's just make it fun, and we'll, like, she needs a vacation, so we'll just go take drives up the canyon and stuff like that. And it turned into just like crazy house. The moment she showed up in my house, just the weirdest crap started happening. Yeah. Lights turning on and off, sounds of people walking in walls, and like sounds like footprints going up walls and across the ceiling. And
I'd kick you out. Oh, I'd kick you out.
Stuff floating around, and it was just, it was weird, and I hated it. And I became the resident exorcist. That was the title I came up with myself. I thought it was kind of funny, but it was my job to like go and give her blessings whenever she started to like go into a trance and go into possession, and which started to be a lot. And Ruby would go up and check on her. It started like every 4 hours at night, and then it moved every 2 hours at night, then it moved every hour at night, and then at some point Ruby said, you know what, I'm just going to start sleeping in there, and if I need you, I'll come down and get you. I'm like, that's kind of weird, but okay. And that was that. They started sleeping in the same bed, and
who sleep in the same bed?
Then she started having like trances and stuff. I would say probably September, where she believed that she was going to heaven and seeing God and Jesus and talking with them. And she would get together with Pam Botcher. Ruby, Pam, and Jodi would get together and do these interventions. That's what they called them. And so they'd just go up and lock themselves in a room for 4 or 5 hours, and then they'd come out and they'd all just be on cloud nine, and Ruby would share with me, like...
I always had a feeling that Jodi and Ruby, something else was going on with them extra. You know, something extra, like some type of relations or something. Kind of weird.
She had this amazing vision, and I wrote it and recorded it all down, and we have a work to do from God, and you're part of it, and the bishop's part of it, and we're all part of bringing all this stuff to the world. And so it was, and it continued like that until I wanted to move on with life. And I would call it dragging my heels. So that was around October, and Jodi flipped out because during one intervention, Chad was in the backyard with a bunch of friends, and it was my job to keep all the kids contained in the basement watching movies or playing video games. And I took the dog on a walk, and
so you're the babysitter while the women go have orgies and shit.
I thought they were done, but they weren't done, and Chad...
condemning you for what you're doing. All right, gotcha.
Had all his high school friends over in the backyard. Jodi flipped out. She was ready to come back to Ivan's on her own that night, and Ruby and Pam talked her into staying. But that was the first night where Ruby said, I want a separation from you. And it was an in-home separation. And so it was...
Cloud 9, right?
It was hard. Basically, there were all these rules now placed on me. Like, I could leave when I wanted, but I couldn't come back until Ruby gave me permission. I couldn't come into the kitchen to eat until Ruby gave me permission. And the upstairs where Jodi roamed was completely off limits. I couldn't go upstairs anymore in my own house. And there would be... Ruby would dictate all of the terms of how our interactions would be, when we would talk, and that was hard. And it was during that time that I really became, I would say, dependent upon Ruby. Like, if she said a kind word to me, like, my whole day was made, right? And so that separation continued all the way up until the holidays, maybe the last week of December, first week of January, and then Ruby ended that separation. Jodi went home the second week of January, but by that time, like, Ruby, Pam, and Jodi were completely determined to do this work that they felt God had for them. And I thought it was crazy. Like, I thought it was just bad shit.
There's a current situation where a suspect is barricaded somewhere. They're evacuating neighbors. This person is shooting a rifle from an elevated position. No helicopters, as far as I know, but if they do end up going live, we'll switch up. But
Crazy.
this situation that Kevin's in, yeah, wild. I don't know how people have the time for this. After a while, I'd be like, all right, enough of this shit. I just have to be done with it.
Like, Ruby, you have a reputation, you have a multi-million-dollar business, you have a brand, and you are just giving it away. She wanted to legally, like, work with Jodi's attorney to basically give Jodi 8 passengers and become an employee of Connections. So basically the contract was Ruby gives Jodi everything and Ruby gets nothing in return.
Wow.
Our manager, our YouTube manager at the time was like, red flags. Like, I don't know how to tell you. She is scamming you. Ruby fired him. And I was like, I believe our manager, I think he's right. And Ruby started threatening me with another separation. And just like, this isn't about money, this is about doing God's work. And so we continued in that dynamic for the next 6 or 7 months until she went on a trip with Jodi and Pam down to Arizona. And I think they, like, when I read her journal, she went into
Okay, we're going to the third one.
it makes sense that she would
It's a little slow. It's a little slow. I mean, thankfully it's not too long. It's a little kind of dragging a little bit, but still, I guess kind of curious to hear the guy's story. This is part 3. It goes up to part 4. This part 3 is 10 minutes.
She went into Mexico or something and bought drugs or something, like prescription drugs for the emergency kits. And when she came back from that trip, before she even brought the bags into the house, she pulled me in and said, I want to talk with you. And that's when she asked me to leave. And that was July 20th, 2022.
I'm hoping we get this standoff popping off.
My interactions with Jodi at that point became one of Jodi. I was still in the men's groups, but the dynamic changed. Instead of being like one of the top people that helped run groups and helped support, all of a sudden I felt like I got knocked to the bottom. And Jodi was just piling on me every week in the men's groups. And the other men just do whatever Jodi does. If Jodi piles on somebody, they all pile on. If Jodi praises somebody, they all praise. And so
I couldn't do that shit, man. I'd snap after a while. I could not.
It really felt
be in
like
some kind of weird. After a while, something gotta bother you.
like a pack of dogs.
Fuck this group. Let's get out. After a while, it's just you're bad, you're good, no, you're a man. After a while, just like, fuck this group. Just walk out of this shit. The hell?
And Jodi was the alpha. And whoever
Jodi was the alpha.
Sicked the dogs on, they would go. Whoever she praised, the dogs would just lick them up and down. And that's how these groups went. And so once I was in separation, every week was just hell. Psychological hell. And Jodi was running it. Everything was on Zoom. And I knew that the only way I would ever get back into my house was I had to get Jodi's approval. Because if I didn't get Jodi's approval, I would never get Ruby's approval. But it felt like an impossible task, because no matter what I did, no matter how much I tried to track better, be truthful and not be selfish, every week it was like, you're being manipulative, you're being selfish, you're lying, you're hiding something, you're still hiding stuff. And
There might be a chopper going, by the way, guys.
And I really started to question my sanity, honestly.
And this was Jodi that we were talking about.
And so that continued for an entire year, but it became more and more and more and more and more isolated until Jodi had an approved list of men that I could make phone calls to, and it was basically 3 men. But
Whoa, an approved list of men that what?
2 of those, well, no, all 3 of those 3 men, until Jodi had an approved list of men that I could make phone calls to, and it was
No, she literally. That's not even your wife or your woman or whatever. It's the other woman that's controlling your woman, that's probably having relations with your woman and wife or whatever. She's telling you who you can talk to and providing you a list of guys that you're allowed to talk to. Wow,
3 men, but 2 of those, all 3 of those 3 men were like, we don't want to do phone calls with you anymore because you're being manipulative. And I'm like, well, who told you that? Well, Jodi did. So I was completely cut off.
Wow.
And I, if I went to my church leaders, I was seeking enablement. If I went to my family, I was seeking enablement. If I went to anybody, I was seeking enablement. And so it felt like a no-win. I felt trapped. And that's where I was all the way up until the last week of July, when Jodi called me one day out of the blue and just said, I don't understand why you're not getting it. You're not changing. I don't get it. So I've been asking God what to do, and God told me that you need to have complete, what's the word they would use? Solitude with God.
Become a monk.
Yeah. And I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, I don't want you to come to men's group anymore. And I don't want you to do phone calls with any of the men. And I'm like, well, then who am I going to talk with? Who's going to support me? God will. You need to learn to go to God. And so I'm just like, there's nobody. You're just, I'm going to be completely cut off.
Suspect shooting police. Wow. I wish there was a chopper out there. Oh, he deleted it.
He's like, no, you'll have God. So that was the last week of July, and that was my last interaction and contact with Jodi. But it was strange because around that time, things with Ruby started like picking up, and I didn't understand why, but like Ruby wanted to meet in a parking lot and wanted me to sign over titles of documents. Like the two of our cars wanted me to sign them over to her name. And
To Ruby.
But I was like, okay, I'm just not, I'm in total compliance mode at this point. Just like, I'm a good husband, you see, you can trust me, and so whatever she asked, like, sign over the cars to me, no question.
Media en route.
It was just okay. And then another thing, she was like, I might want to do an investment, but I will need your signature. Do you trust me enough that I could get your signature if I wanted to pursue my own investment? Yeah, sure. Whatever you say.
No.
How big of an investment was she talking about? What did she tell you?
She never did, and I never signed anything. She never brought anything to me. But when I returned to the house, everything was packed up, and a neighbor came over and said she asked for the HOA rules and mentioned to him that she wanted to rent the house out. Which I was like, are you kidding me? And apparently she wanted to sell the house, but couldn't because my name was on the mortgage. And I think that's what she was talking about, of, will you sign something if I just put it in front of you? And you know what? I probably would have. Like, that's how messed up I was.
I'm glad you didn't.
Me too. That would have been
Just sign the kids away.
disastrous. But I can't describe to you what torture and hell it was to live it was more than a month really, in complete isolation. Believing that I was like evil and
Damn.
I mean, manipulative and lying and selfish, and that I had abandoned my family, and that I was more interested in my selfishness than my family.
And I think moving forward, you going through that is going to be extremely helpful. I felt that way because a lot of those are the same words that were used with them, and you're going to understand how they felt,
We've already talked about that,
Yeah.
actually. In the couple of times we've met, I've said, this is how I felt. Did you feel that way? Like, yes, this is how I felt. Like, when we each confessed to things that we didn't do, I'm like, I confessed to things I never did, but I was so scared. And he's like, that's what I did too. So we connected on that level, you know, and it's crazy that anybody can get to that level of desperation, but we were there. We were there.
And this was the end of July, what you're saying? End of July of 2022, or the last time you saw Jodi was
23.
23. Okay.
The last communication I had with Jodi was the last week of July. Might have been like the first couple days of August, but just that.
Just
little
shortly before we made contact with you.
Yeah.
Or
a
you
month.
made contact with us.
A month before.
Yeah.
Okay.
So for that whole month, my life was literally wake up, exercise, go to work, pretend everything's okay, come home, do connections like workbooks and read scriptures and try to strip selfishness out of my life. Like, go to bed, wake up, repeat every day, boom, 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 boom. I mean, I was so upside down. And my plan was in 6 months I get to reach back out to Jodi again, and she'll let me back in the group, and then I can prove. Oh, I don't know if I heard a door knock, but
I don't know if I did too.
Might be your kids.
might be.
We're
Oh,
almost there.
And we can,
has it been an hour?
Almost.
I told you it wouldn't take an hour.
So take a couple minutes.
I'm sorry.
and we're good too if you need to head out. That was seriously,
I guess
we just wanted, yeah.
the only questions I would have, and just going back, you said that she was having
Okay.
Better journal it.
Last part. 9 minutes.
like these visions of like what were you ever privy enough to understand or be told what those visions were?
A couple of them.
What were the two that they should we tell you about?
So, like one of them, she was walking along the beach with Jesus, and Jesus challenged her to go walk on the water, and it was a whole lesson on walking on the water. Another, she would walk with Heavenly Father and Heavenly Mother, and she learned about, she had a pet lion in heaven named Charles. I
couldn't do
don't know
this
why I
shit,
never
bro.
forgot that name, but it was like this massive lion, and she got to ride the lion and learned that, you know, all about who she was and this pet lion and all. There was another one where there was a lot of satanic ones where when she would go into possession mode, she would talk in like different voices. It was really creepy. But the voices would say, she's ours, we're not letting go. She is Satan's bride. She's mine. I'm going to marry her. You know, so if she was faking it, she believed that she was trying to, or Satan wanted her as her bride.
Hush Pup, thank you so much. 20 memberships gifted. Making it rain up in a bitch. Oh, you get what? You get what? You get what? Oh, you get free shit.
So then you said, just clarifying, so the last time you saw the kids was when you separated that in July, is that what I'm
20th.
thinking? Of 2022. Do you have any questions for us?
No, I'm just really interested in the pen papers. Like, for my own curiosity, I want to know what was going on in all of those little interventions. And
I'll look back through the photos because, like I said, we documented everything in the home, whether we took it or if we didn't. And then I'll reach out to Mr. Kester and let you know.
So I have a
But-
couple of observations when you're done.
Yeah, go for it.
So I always thought it was interesting, now that you mentioned that she was riding a lion. Kevin told me that when they were having these group meetings, she would never show up. She would show up on the WebEx, but in place of her person would just be this X for the connection. So it's like this Wizard of Oz thing going on. And I just thought that
She
was
never
kind
showed
of-
her face.
Kind of eerie.
She always covered herself.
Yeah.
Like even in the hottest of summer, she would wear these hoodies. She would smell so bad.
Yeah.
She would never bathe, but she was trying to hide her arms and stuff because apparently Ruby told me they were just like mutilated. And
So the other thing that I think it's important for them to know is during that whole time when you were out, you only had communication with Ruby maybe 3 or 4 times. But that each time, or at least on some of the occasions you spoke to her, she's telling you that everything's blissful, we're doing well, you know, everything's so much better without you. And,
oh, that would be communicated to me by Jodi every week.
okay.
And the men's groups too. And it was just like, you're abandoning your family. And it always hurt so bad because it's like, I want to be with my family so bad. What do you mean I'm abandoning them? If you wanted to be with your family, you would change. You would stop being selfish. But you keep being selfish, so you want it. And it was just felt like, well, how do I stop wanting it then? It's like, then you must change. Well, how do I change? Well, you gotta want it. Well, what? You know, so how do I want it? You gotta change. It's just like
Perpetual cycle.
yeah,
And
there's no. I tried to find my way into that cycle, and it felt like, have you ever had a dream where there's like a problem you're trying to solve, but you can't solve it, and how frustrating you feel? That's what my life felt like. And as I'm looking back and I'm realizing there was no solution. There was, you either had Jodi's approval or you didn't. I wasn't doing anything different than the other men in the group. But they got her approval, so they were praised and they were repenting and they were doing everything right. I, on the other hand, was manipulative and selfish and enabling and all blah, 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 blah. And she became like the arbiter of truth, the arbiter of forgiveness, God's own mouthpiece, and it was just messed up.
Well, I'm glad that you're seeing
realizing that.
clearly, you know, and
Coming out of the
kind of
fog.
came out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yeah.
One last
Mhm.
discussion. So, in the home, when the warrant was issued, there was a bag with $85,000 cash in
Yes.
it. And I understand her lawyer, Ruby's lawyer, has all that
I'm not.
Which home are we talking about?
Ivan.
In
in
Ivans?
the Ivan's home.
We don't know. The money was left where it was left. We didn't take
Yeah.
it. We didn't keep it with us.
So-
The house was secured when we left. We're assuming that Lamar Windward
Yeah,
was
he
able
has
to
it.
retrieve it. But we don't, I can't tell you
Yeah.
one or the other. if we do.
So, here's kind of the issue. That money, she cleaned out their bank accounts.
The kids' savings accounts.
Yeah, and yours too, your joint account.
Yeah.
That's where that money came from.
Mhm.
So I don't know if you can have, or if I need to have a discussion with the county attorney. Kevin would kind of like his kids' money back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would be civilly. So I would go address that.
Talk to Lamar. and
Lamar.
see,
Yeah.
see what those funds are being used for.
I don't think he wants to give them up. And I wouldn't either if I were
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
I think he's using it for attorney fees.
Yeah.
I don't know if the county attorney is going to be able to separate that out unless the judge has already separated it out. Even the county attorney's going to look at it and go, it's civil, it's both your guys' money in some sense, and
But
then
if you
the judge would
did-
have to divide that up to where it goes. We can do that. He's the county attorney. Wouldn't
If you did go civil, though, I feel like that would be your fastest route to.
It's just dirty what she did.
yeah.
She
No.
stole
Yeah.
money. She stole money from my 18-year-old son out there. And it's wrong.
Well, the other thing that you didn't, that, I don't know, I mean, there's a lot there, but I think they need to know that while Jodi was living in your home, she was also purportedly giving therapy to Chad, and Chad was
Every
paying
week.
her. And he's like, what,
At that time, we
15,
were
16?
paying her.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't until Chad moved out that part of his therapy was he needed to pay for his own therapy. So at age 17, he was paying her $900 a month to get brainwashed.
Dad at 17?
He did.
What was he doing for work?
He worked at he's a lifeguard, basically.
Okay.
Lifeguard supervisor at
Most
two
of his
different rec
checks.
centers.
Yeah.
So it was like the majority of his check was going to Jodi.
He was paying her more than he's paying rent, wasn't he?
So
3 times as much.
that's crazy.
She's not
I
a
mean,
nice
obviously, you've
person.
seen her house and what she has. She's making. There's a lot of money going around. And there's a lot of money. I don't know if we can. Sorry, I've been a little sick. I'm not sure if we know where that money came from or where it went. Like, it doesn't seem like she's had an income within the past little bit. So
Were her book sales
I can't imagine. I can't imagine they were. But, anyway, I need to get my kids.
Yeah, we'll
So
definitely
you're
let
good.
you go.
Thank
And
you.
thank you so much for your time. We appreciate
I
it.
want to cooperate though in anything related to Jodi and Pam.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can help.
That's it. Media is overhead, but I don't know if they're actually gonna go live. Sometimes I'm told, Wilson told me sometimes they're a little bit particular about barricades. Ellie tells them sometimes not to go live. Okay. So I don't know if they're actually gonna go live or not. Right now on the second channel, we don't have any more notifications. So the next live, whatever it is, will be on the main page, Icked Mel, just regular Icked Mel, not Icked Mel CC. And on Icked Mel, I think we have one notification right now. Let's see when the next one comes. The next notification will be, we have one. The next one will be, the one after that will be in 3 hours. So I'm kind of holding to see. I don't know if they're actually going to go live or not. Don't seem like it. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know if they're going live. Brian Anthony just posted a video. Let me see. We'll watch this, and then if not, then I'll get off for now because I have a couple things I got to do.
The father of a missing 15-year-old boy is pleading for help and for answers in the disappearance of his son who vanished 5 weeks ago. This is a sad, sad story. 15-year-old Sebastian Rogers has not been seen since he disappeared near Nashville on February 26. He vanished from his home in Hendersonville, Tennessee. He shared with his mother and stepfather. One theory is he wandered off in the middle of the night with a flashlight, barefoot and alone. But with every day that passes, there are more questions about this case and what might have really happened to this little boy. Search crews spent the first few weeks scouring the area for any sign of the teen who is on the autism spectrum. Authorities blasted his favorite song, The Eye of the Tiger. They were blasting the music, hoping if he could hear it, he would respond. A reward was offered and an Amber Alert issued. It was all standard stuff at that point. But then something strange happened. This is when things started to sort of take a turn. There was a perplexing move. They said they were scaling back the ground search, transitioning to an investigation only. Volunteer searchers were told they were no longer needed. This as investigators then began combing a landfill in Kentucky. They went to the landfill. They got a search warrant at the landfill.
Baby. Oh, baby, baby. Oh, 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 baby, baby, baby. Oh, baby, baby, baby. Wait. Hey. Wait, is it here? Hold on.
Construction workers are still
see it.
missing, and we are learning the cargo ship issued a mayday call right before the crash,
Wait, I don't see
which
nothing.
allowed crews to stop traffic onto the
Oh,
bridge.
okay.
Take a look. This is a live view of the Francis Scott Key Bridge.
I thought they were going live for the barricaded thing, but apparently they only showed like a second of it. So I got excited, but it's nothing.
Where trash from Sebastian's neighborhood had been taken. Sebastian's father says the boy would not just wander off and would never go far without his shoes, that it doesn't make sense. That dad has now called in resources to join the search for his boy. And as it happens, the group called the United Cajun Navy. Probably sounds familiar. We've been covering them a lot lately. They were already in Nashville. Well, they'd come to Tennessee to help to search for missing University of student Riley Strain, which we've covered at depth. That search tragically came to an end last Friday when they discovered Strain's body. Well, now the Cajun Navy is sending in units to aid the search for Sebastian Rogers. They are hoping fresh sets of eyes might make all the difference.
Sebastian's father reached out to us and asked for help, and so we're going to try to help up there as much as we can. First and foremost, we'd like to see Sebastian found safe and sound. You know, that's, I think, everybody's hope, and that's always our hope.
Okay, so now for more on the search for the teen and the concerns about what may have happened to that boy, we're joined by Seth Rogers, Sebastian's father. Seth, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so sorry for everything you're going through. We want to get the word out about Sebastian. Hasn't gotten enough national attention. Sebastian, I want to be clear, was with his mom and stepdad when he disappeared, but you're very close to Sebastian. Do you have any idea what may have happened here?
I haven't been, I don't know. I mean, I got a phone call and a text message that I received after I got off of work stating that I needed to give the stepfather a call. I called him and he was like, Sebastian's missing, don't be upset or anything, but you need to come to the house. I don't know what happened to him. I haven't seen him in over a month. I've been out here looking for him.
Seth, I mean, what do they think happened? I mean, could he really have just walked away like that? It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense.
It doesn't make a lot of sense. His shoes are still by the front door. His switch was there. His phone was in the kitchen. It just didn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. And I still can't figure it out. I've been looking everywhere, been handing out flyers, been just trying to keep up hope. And I've reached out to United Cajun Navy to sit there and see if they will help me. And they answered my call.
Yeah, one thing I couldn't understand is why they were telling people not to search at one point. I mean, the shift went to the landfill. It was this investigation and they're telling people not to search. I couldn't make sense of that. I mean, it made me wonder, do you have any indication that investigators may know that something bad happened here?
They haven't told me anything, and they told people not to search, but I've been searching since that Monday. I can't just sit around and not do anything. I've got to find my son.
Yeah, I understand. I would be doing the same exact thing as you, and I think everybody around America would be, and their hearts go out to you. Have you talked to Sebastian's mom, stepdad? You mentioned you had that conversation when they said, he's gone missing, but have they been able to give any more information?
I haven't spoken to them for at least 2 weeks. They're not talking to me.
There are reports that they have packed up an RV and left the house that Sebastian disappeared from. Any idea why they would do that?
I have no idea. I have no information. They weren't talking to me, so I was out here trying to find my son.
Do you feel that they were taking good care of him?
I've got information from podcasts that they were showing that horrified me.
What do you mean? I mean, were they on podcasts or? I'm sorry, I know this is upsetting, but I just want to understand.
They were going on podcasts, and it was like, it's supposed to be about Sebastian. They wanted to talk about themselves. I don't get that. We need to get Sebastian's face out to everybody. Have them looking for Sebastian. This isn't about me. It's not about his mom. It's not about his stepdad. This is about Sebastian. He needs to be found.
Have they been searching at all? I mean, I know you're out there right now. Have his mom and stepdad been out there too?
I can't answer that question. I don't know. I haven't seen them. And they've not been where I've been handing out flyers or searching. So I couldn't tell you what they've been doing.
I mean, Seth, you know, I'm glad we have the picture up. He looks like such a nice young man. And I mean, would he ever leave barefoot? I know that's something that's perplexed some people. And even people who have children on the autism spectrum have been perplexed by that. Does that make any sense?
It doesn't. It does not make any sense. If he knew he was going to go out walking or anywhere in the yard or whatnot, he would put on socks and shoes. He had a horrible experience as a child with fire ants. He learned. It's always socks and shoes, or at least something on your feet to protect you from what's on the ground.
Yeah, well, listen, I know how close you were to Sebastian, and we will stay on the story. Obviously, there's an active search happening right now. You're out there. Police have been searching. The Cajun Navy is now involved. We've got the picture up again. So, Seth, please let us know if there's any developments, if you hear anything at all, and we'll make sure to stay on the story. Thank you so much for coming on with us.
Thank you for helping me.
All right. Well, that seems to be at odds with the biological mom, stepdad. All right. I think I'm going to call it for now. This chopper, I don't believe, is going up, but it does seem to be like a domestic situation type of thing. Let me see if I can just move myself out of the way. Oh, wow. A little too far. Officers provide more details, stating the police arriving at the scene were able to pull a woman out of the apartment before the suspect barricaded himself. Somebody had claimed that allegedly this guy his wife or her woman, girlfriend, whatever, might have cheated on him with a neighbor. I don't know if that's true or not. Take it with a grain of salt. So homeboy started going nuts. Take a look at the scene.
We're all fucking dead! Fuck you! I'm dead, so. This is all I know! She's kidding on me! I got the kids taking whoever I got me, but I got 5 kids and they were even mine!
You say it's not even mine?
Don't take my kids,
I'm not sure how Citizen works. It looks like to me, I guess like it's not live, but it gives you like updates, kind of like it keeps updating. Let me see.
Everyone knows you like. You guys, we have all the stuff in there. Where do you want us to go?
Oh, they're kicking him out.
Yes. Oh man. Right.
I can tell if it's just repeating. Oh, there it goes. It says live. Oh, there's a live. Let's go live. Fuck it. You want to go live? Let's go live, baby. Fuck it. We're doing this shit right now. Let's go. Calm down, Akimel. You're so violent. Fuck it. Realize he's live already? Let's go! Let's go! Something! I wish the thing is, I need some better picture for a thumbnail. I just get so excited at the violence. Is it repeating? Hold on, is it repeating though? So there is a live, that's dope as shit. But let me just get a screen. Oh, it's, okay. Oh, it's live. Okay, she live, baby, she live. Is it looping? It is, right? Man. Yeah, it is looping. What happened? Yeah, it's looping now. I said live for a second. Text. Oh. Hold on. Let's see. We're trying to work something out, man. Y'all hold on for a second. Live stand-up shot at cop suspect barricaded, California. I always had like a hard time understanding the Citizen app because you get to see clips. Sometimes it's live, sometimes it's not. Oh, you got to pay for the shit. That's how you get to what? All right. Well, let me see. In the meantime, while I find out about that, let me see if I can use this. Might be okay with it. I understand if it's not okay. That's cool. I understand, brother. Well. Okay. Let's see. Let's see if this works. Citizen app. I'm in. I don't have it. I just signed up. What y'all talking about? Don't have a subscription. Oh, no, wrong thing. Oh, this is a pain in the butt. Let's see. Broadcast. Okay. Yeah, for a moment it said live. It doesn't say live anymore, so I guess I don't know if that woman got off. Hey guys, I think he's leaving, or is he going over there? I wonder who's the lady on the ground too. You get in touch with these people. Okay. Oh, they arrested Diddy's mule, drug mule. Oh hell no, Diddy, they're coming for you. Diddy, it's hot in here too. It's cold and hell is hot. Ain't no sunshine in there, Sean. Let's see. Only darkness every day. That's nice. I might have a chopper feed. I'm hungry. I'm ready to eat. Okay, no, chopper left. Okay. All right, nothing's panned out. That's all right. All right. I'm gonna get up for now, guys. If something pops up to the next place I'll be live is the main channel. All right. I love you. See you in a bit. Maybe if I get a feed for this standoff, I'll be live. All right, or chase or anything else.